And
Yeah.
you're right, actually. I was just thinking as you were talking about this, the bunch of trumpets indicates joy, deep, deep joy, and an effervescent sort of enthusiasm, but a single trumpet is usually sorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, and that's John, and it's time to dig into some music. And it is John's turn to offer up something for me to go off and listen to. So here I am with bated breath, hoping to find out just that. John, what do you have in store, my friend?
Are you familiar with a band called the Housemartins?
This is one of those where I know they exist, but I've never seen or heard them. So, it'll be my first introduction to their sound, but this is no revelation that they are a band. I know that much about them. So, I'd be interested to hear what
I'd be
they have to offer.
surprised. Yeah, I'd be surprised if you ever heard their music because no reason, but it just strikes me they're quite a British band that I think seem to exist just on these isles.
Yeah, they
I
didn't
could be wrong,
expand. Their
but
sound didn't make it outside of the UK.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Perhaps they're big in Belgium. Who knows? Certainly not me. But anyway, so House Martins are the band, and the song is called Flag Day, and this is a Peel session version of the song.
Okay. One more reason to look forward to giving this a listen. So, let me go off and do just that, and then I'll come back and let you know my thoughts on Flag Day. All right, so before we get too deep in the vocal weeds here, really lovely, like from a like technicality standpoint, pretty beginning we have here where it's this clean, almost jazzy like sound to it, the chord progression, and then this sort of hi-hat and snare rim driven drum beat, both again fairly rudimentary but really pleasant, and they're just getting things started here, so I'm sure that they're, there's more to it than the simplicity that I'm suggesting here, but it's a nice way to capture your attention and to set the mood with the sound. And then you get this bass that comes in. It's got this like note popping, style to it and how it's being played. And to be fair, the bass has more melody and nuance to it than the other instruments to this point, particularly the guitar. When you think of melody in a, rock and roll band, you automatically go to, the guitar. In this, it's kind of setting this chord progression while the bass is doing all this extra work and kind of adding nuance to the music, which is interesting and I like it. So let's take this back and kind of relive that beginning. It's a short song, so I'm sure you've all got some time here. But yeah, let's relive that. Yeah, it's really nice.
Too many flowers, nightingales, not enough Robin Hoods. Too many halos, not
So interesting sound and some interesting lyrics I think that I was able to catch there. He's got this really like tepid sound to his voice right now. Who knows where it'll go from here. Uh but I think that that's I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air on it because if that's all it offers, then I'm going to be kind of like meh. But if it's setting the mood or the tone to something that's going to evolve from that, then that's pretty cool. We'll see where it ends up. The lyrics were the most interesting part of me. Like too many Florence Nightingales and not enough Robin Hoods, too many Halos and not enough heroes, or something to that effect. Interesting. I don't know why Florence Nightingale is taking stray shots. Sort of the mother of nursing, among other things. So that's interesting to. I mean, I'm all for some having some Robin Hoods out there, especially in today's day and age when wealth disparity is absolutely run amok. But yeah, interesting lyrics. Let's see where we go from here.
For the poor, for the poor.
Oh, I like the photo poll.
So you thought you'd like to see them heal. Got blue pillar to stage and a pillar. For the poor, for the poor.
I like that. For the poor.
It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking a box in front of the queen. 'Cause the purse is fat and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, too many hands and too many.
All right, so reassessing my feelings on the vocals. Loved how he kind of. I now have more of appreciation for what he was doing in the first verse. It kind of like he kind of found his voice in the chorus, and he had some throatiness and a little bit of, dare I say, even a little snarl. There's much more passion in his delivery, and I like how things escalated to that. You don't want everything to be all the same or one note. Also, more allusions to wealth inequality when he's talking about going to the queen and shaking a box. I'm assuming that's like displaying your lack of wealth or requesting some money from her or something to that effect. That would be my guess. So yeah, interesting topic, one that I can get behind for sure. But yeah, I'm digging this.
Pockets, not enough hands on hearts. Too many ready to call it a day before the day starts. So you thought you'd like to see them healed. Side to stage like your boat sail. For the poor, for the poor. So you thought you'd like to change the world. Side to stage a jumbo sailor. For the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try
Lovely.
shaking a box in front of the queen. 'Cause the purse is fat and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Flag day, a flag day, a flag day.
Great.
A flag day, a flag day, a flag day.
Mm. Yeah, the very end there actually reminded me a little bit of Cake, who I think we've devoted an episode to them. Uh, odd how that up because I didn't think that's where I was going, but those horns and that kind of it's not slappy bass, but it's definitely got that popping, kind of at points style to how it's being played, and that's just I think that's great. It's super infectious. So yeah, I really really dig that. So, where I stand on his voice, it definitely my feelings evolved throughout this track, and I think that that was kind of like his intentions were planned to have his performance develop as such, where it was this sort of this more tepid approach in the beginning, and then he keeps finding his voice and doing things to it a little bit here and there that changes it up. That second verse that he sung, his voice was kind of like doing a lot of different things, bordering on falsetto, breathy, and this airy nature to it. Really interesting. Dug that. The I noticed that at the end we finally got this allusion to the this with this titular refrain of Flag Day. Um, Perhaps sort of a facetious proclamation in the wake of all this describing of this as I mentioned before, you know wealth disparity or income inequality, whatever you want to call it. It's existed forever and it's fluctuated to some degree, though it always favored a certain group on that ladder. And I think that that's what these gents are underscoring. um and for the most part it all like checked out and was cohesive and made sense. Their messaging behind it, the only thing that caught me off guard was like the nightingale, like the Florence Nightingale illusion. Like, I don't know why she was name referenced in this or name checked in this. I'm sure that there are if I were to say there are too many and not enough, so I'd be like there are too many oligarchs or there are too many, you know, uh, Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Zucker, all these guys that hoard all this cash. Um, and I would have punched higher, I guess is what I'm saying lyrically. But hey, it doesn't take anything away from the song. It's a beautifully written song. There's trumpets, or trumpet is gorgeous in this. Love the motif that it kind of plays there. I guess that's at the end of each of the choruses that plays out. But yeah, this is really it's got some simple qualities to it from like a, you know, structure and arrangement standpoint, but everything within the structure is really, really well done. So, I can't take anything away from these guys. This is a really good sound, really good performance of the song. And it's good to be able to put a sound to a name that I have heard before, but didn't think I was, and still don't think that I'm familiar with outside of this one listen. Um, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed listening to the song. I really enjoyed the message behind it. And I'd love to learn more about the song and the band. So, in order to do that, let's get back to John.
Sven Goran Eriksson, he's back. So you've had to listen to a Flag Day, Peel version, mind you,
Yeah.
by the Housemartins. What do you make of it?
Well, I really enjoyed this one. And for a short song, it kind of grew on me, which is interesting because usually with a short song, it captivates you right from the beginning and takes you to the end. This, and the aspect that grew on me was actually his vocal delivery, which I wasn't instantly warmed to, but as it progressed, I sort of saw a bigger picture, and I could see it from point A all the way to point B, and then I think I picked up on what he was going for here. So we'll talk on that more on that later, I'm sure. But the song begins with this very simple but enjoyable kind of chord progression, coupled with some equally simple but pleasant drums, kind of centered around this hi-hat and snare rim beat. And these two are working together to create this sort of oddly kind of this quasi, when I mean quasi, I mean quasi, sort of jazz or lounge feel. I don't know. There's this cool sound to the very beginning of this song. It's very laid back, kind of atmosphere that they're building early on in the soundscape. But then in saunters this note popping bass that plays this lovely kind of, dare I say, melodic motif that really fills in the gaps beneath the guitar. And it's adding like musical nuance to the guitar's chords, like filling in gaps. And I thought that was kind of interesting, how it kind of takes the listener by the hand and leads them through the song, because that's not normally what a bass does. Normally, think bass rhythm, but this is doing a lot in the way of providing melody to the song to this juncture in it. So the singer then joins with this kind of tepid delivery, but despite that, he delivers some quite curious lyrics that kick off the first verse when he sings, "Too many Florence Nightingales and not enough Robin Hoods." And I'm not sure exactly what he means by that. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's interesting, and I can understand the bit about there not being enough Robin Hoods. But how is it that he surmises we have too many Florence Nightingales? And what is she supposed to represent in this context? I've heard several times of nurse shortages, so I can't really imagine there being too many of her kind out there. But I'm sure you can help me connect the dots when I hand the baton over to you. So he also references on more than one occasion the poor. I'm here for that. Being a voice of the voiceless is always something that I admire. And after the last mention of it, the music stops, though it does resonate. And then after a slightly pregnant pause, we get the raps of these like toms, or perhaps even toms and rototoms, which have kind of a higher pitch to their sound than your typical floor toms or even your two set toms. So yeah, really interesting. And then we kick off into what is the chorus, and things pick up a bit in this portion, and his vocals become more animated and emphatic, and they're starting to grow on me as he continues to make references to wealth disparity, even at one point suggesting shaking a box in front of the queen whose purse is fat and bursting at the seams. And then comes in this almost plaintive trumpet with these three notes that blast before it kind of carries off proper into the rest of its kind of trumpet motif. And there is this the singer vocalizes along with the trumpet as the trumpet sort of like carries on after those three introductory notes. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic between singer and trumpet here. And the next verse kicks off, and the singer changes his delivery style from the first verse, and even that more emphatic, energetic chorus where he's kind of testing several different waters. You have this breathy and airy approach, and then this where he's reaching like a falsetto or the top of his pitch as well at other points. And it's really interesting, and I like it because it's showing vocal diversity to the track and almost this like escalating style from where we started to where we are. And again, it really has grown on me. Then we get treated to another chorus, and things kick off with this throaty delivery of "it's a waste of time." And he's again emphatic energy. I'm liking it. And I should probably mention that since I didn't mention it the last time I discussed the chorus, and that is the terrific group harmonies that are provided behind his vocals in the chorus really kind of like help lift and underscore the lead singer while adding yet another musical layer to the chorus and the song in general. And I really enjoyed that. So hats off to the whole band for doing their part. And as the trumpet returns, the lead singer repeats this titular refrain. I think this is the first time I'm catching. I know it's the first time I'm catching it. I think it's the first time it's featured, where he's saying "Flag Day, Flag Day" before the song dismounts in such a way that I'm oddly reminded, just for a brief moment in a couple of the last seconds of the whole song, of the band Cake. Now, I think that's oftentimes because they feature a trumpet in some of their stuff and it has that same sort of sound. But that kind of made me chuckle or grin to myself because, who doesn't like being reminded of Cake, the pastry, or the band? So yeah, this was a really good song. And even with the bits that I wasn't 100% sold on at the beginning, it had a lot of promise to it. And that actually, the parts that I did take issue with blossomed into these other great parts that actually made me admire it. So I've come full circle on the vocals in this song. Also, I really love the idea of any brand of music or song taking on social issues, and it sounded pretty clear to be a jab at kind of this wealth disparity or income inequality gone amok. And the one thing I would say is that I don't get the shot at Florence Nightingale, so please shed some light on that for me. I would have maybe gone for the bloat of the wealthy and the root cause of the issue, but nonetheless, thought it was a really cool track, really interesting sound, and I'd love to learn more about these guys. So, John, please take it away.
Okay, thanks for that, Andy. Yeah, some interesting points. I will try to cover them. They're an interesting band, the Housemartins. They were sort of quite brief, but they take a little sort of certain parts of a place in British music history, and they're influential for certain reasons as well. So I'll go on about the band, then I'll go on about the song. So the band was formed in 1983 by Paul Heaton, vocals, and Stan Cullimore, guitar, initially as a busking duo. They are from Hull, which is in the sort of north east-ish of England, not as far up as Newcastle, below there, big sort of harbour and fishing, things like that. So with the start of the miners' strike in the UK in 1984, Heaton felt the angrier political songwriting that resulted from this required a full band lineup. So the band recruited rhythm section from fellow Hull band, the Gargoyles, initially recruiting guitarist Ted Key on bass, who then persuaded his bandmate Hugh to join on drums. Key left at the end of '81 after recording the band's first John Peel session and the band's first single, Flag Day, saying he felt isolated in the writing process for the band's first album. So Heaton then invited Norman Cook, later known as Fatboy Slim, who had been a member of Heaton's teenage band, the Stomping Pond Frogs, and had played in some earlier Housemartin demos, and he replaced Key on bass. In 1986, having recorded a second John Peel session, the band broke through with their third single, Happy Hour, which reached number 3 in the UK singles charts. It's quite a nice, boppy little number, and it was really helped by a stellar video, which featured claymation animated stuff, sort of like the clay figures of a band going into a pub and getting into fights and trying to get off with girls and stuff, and then interspersed with some real life footage as well. And it's a really nice video, very, very popular. And it also featured a cameo by a comedian which you may not have heard of, called Phil Jupitus, who's again much loved in this country. And he used to be, when he was stand-up, he was also known as Porky the Poet, and he toured with the band and was like their opening act and stuff like that. So then they brought out their debut album, London 0 Hole 4, which was released later in 1986, and that reached number 3 in the album charts. So, as I said, this is the Peel session version of the first single, which when it was released, it reached the dizzying heights of number 124 in the UK singles chart. I didn't even realise our charts went that high. There's probably about 8 copies sold in a week. So back to the album, the liner notes and lyrics reflect singer Paul Heaton's interest at the time in Christianity and Marxism. The back cover of the album contains the message, take Jesus, take Marx, and that, I think that's Carl, not Richard. Take hope. So there's a nice little write-up here from AllMusic who said, like a box of chocolate truffles with BBs hidden in them, a Housemartins album offers deceivingly simple and tuneful pop songs that are designed to cause you some discomfort once you start chewing on them. Singer and songwriter Paul Heaton sings with a disarmingly boyish voice, high and adenoidal, and his bandmates contribute angelic harmonies as well as sweet and straightforward guitar pop instrumental settings. But listen closely to Heaton's lyrics and you'll find yourself plunged into a world of class resentment, bitter economic disappointment, and strangled rage. Heaton is no simple lefty. His politics are a strange amalgam of Marxism and Christianity, but his views are brutally uncompromising, and they constitute a very iron fist wrapped in the velvet glove of the Housemartins' blissful guitar pop. Agree with him or not, there's no denying the music's power. Okay, so I'll get into the lyrics and a bit about the song. Too many Florence Nightingales, not enough Robin Hoods. Too many halos, not enough heroes coming up with the goods. So you thought you'd like to change the world, decided to stage a jumble sale for the poor, for the poor. So you thought you'd like to see them healed. Got Blue Peter to stage an appeal for the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking a box in front of the Queen because her purse is fat and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Trumpet solo. Fantastic. I did that 3-note blast, as you say, before it goes into ba, ba, ba. And
Yeah.
you're right, actually. I was just thinking as you were talking about this. The bunch of trumpets indicates joy, deep, deep joy, and an effervescent sort of enthusiasm, but a single trumpet is usually sorrow.
Yeah,
It's just the way it is. It's really odd, but it is,
Yeah.
last post, stuff like that. Anyway, back to the song. Too many hands in too many pockets, not enough hands on hearts, too many ready to call it a day before the day starts. So you thought you'd like to see them healed, decided to stage a jumble sale for the poor, for the poor. So you thought you'd like to change the world, decided to stage a jumble sale for the poor, for the poor. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Try shaking a box in front of the Queen because her purse is fat and bursting at the seams. It's a waste of time if you know what they mean. Flag Day, Flag Day, Flag Day, 3 times Flag Day. And then you get that really nice note of the trumpet ends and goes off. Now then, the album version, no trumpet. Very little guitars actually until about halfway through. It's centered around a grand piano, and it's one of these pianos that has huge resonance, and it's sort of played as a bluesy riff on it. And it's beautiful and amazing. But I think this version, again, there's something about this version I absolutely adore. And people may have probably have heard the original quite a lot, and may not so many people have heard the Peel session. So I thought, just interesting.
I was just going to
Go
ask, the
on.
version that more folks are accustomed to or familiar with is the one that features the piano, not this one that features a trumpet in the Peel. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it starts off quite plaintive, and you don't get the rest of the band really kicking in until midway through the second verse. And you get a very gentle drumming, and you get some like guitar chords, but you barely hear them. And the harmonies come in as well, but not for the first bit. And it goes off into a nice little instrumental. So the original version is 5.5 minutes. There's quite a bit of filler in, I'd say. That's my view. Just about the song itself. So what he's saying really, with too many Florence Nightingales and not enough Robin Hoods, it's the roles that these particular sort of traits play. So there's a lot of people, through whatever reason, are deciding to treat the symptoms, patchwork, healing people, and not dealing with the root problems. And also, it's kind of having a go at these well-meaning sort of raising charity funds for things rather than getting to this root problem. This is his Marxism kicking in. There's a program like a BBC children's program, very long running, called Blue Peter, and one of the things they used to do each year, particularly when I was a kid, was stage these massive appeals to help this, that, and the other. And guess what? Next year, same bloody thing.
Yeah.
Another appeal, same disaster, again and again. And they're kind of saying you're not really changing anything. Even if you think you are, you're just treating the symptoms each time of what's happening. So that's really what is going on, I think. And also the fact that other people are hugely wealthy. And, that's part of it. But so I don't think he's not having a go at nurses per se, or it's that sort of role of people.
Yeah, and what you described is what I thought. But to me, it's just almost like it's similar to the argument he's making, is that like, why are you taking a piss at the people that are trying to like fix I realize it's not a permanent fix, and what they're doing is putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound, but why not attack the shooter? Like go deeper and say we need less of these oligarchs or less of this the current economic structure. I get it. I totally get it. And the point is, he's right in saying what he's saying. I'm just saying punch as high as you can at these motherfuckers. But hey, that's just me. He's not wrong. He's actually quite right. It's just you could take your criticism a step further to the doorstep of those who are really the guilty parties for this systemic bullshit that we live in. But I point made and taken.
Yeah, I think back in '85 or whatever, oligarchs weren't really on the horizon then. It's governmental issues he's talking about, really.
Yeah, fair.
And this is what about Robin Hood, take from the rich to give to the poor, etc. Yeah. But it's interesting, and it's not particularly the sort of thing you would have heard on the radio much in mid-80s, at the height of Thatcherism and capitalism.
Yes.
So, yeah, just back to the band and their story. So, the end of '86, they had their only UK #1 single. It was a week before Christmas. It was a cover version of the Isley Brothers' Caravan of Love, and it was a cappella as well. Beautiful and really good. And we had a couple of years where we had a cappella songs like #1 around Christmas. That was very odd. But anyway, the single picked to Christmas #1 by a reissue of Jackie Wilson's Reet Petite, which is really weird. And the band then apparently attributed the track being pulled from BBC Radio 1 playlist following a sexual reference to the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and her husband Dennis, made by one of the band in a radio interview. You can just imagine what they said. But anyway, Caravan of Love was actually performed by the Housemartins in their second Peel session in April '86 before their initial chart success. So these Peel sessions they did, the two of them are really important in terms of bring the band on, both in how they did it, but also what they did as well. It was source material for stuff. At Peel's suggestion, the band recorded another session under the name The Fish City 5, consisting entirely of a cappella performances. And on occasion, they actually played support act for their own performances under this alternative name. So they'd come on as the Fish City 5, do the a cappella stuff, waddle off, then come back on with their instruments and play another set. I just think it's quite charming. So it's great. So anyway, drummer Hugh Whitaker left in 1987 on amicable terms and suggested his schoolfriend Dave Hemingway as replacement. Housemartins' second album, The People Who Grin Themselves to Death, was released in '87 and included the singles Five Get Overexcited, Me and the Farmer, and Build. Following the release of their last single, There Is Always Something There to Remind Me, in April 1988, Housemartins announced the band split up. Members of the band have remained in contact and have worked with each other's projects, so I said there's still good sort of relations between them. Norman Cook has enjoyed a significant success with Beats International, #1 single Duck Be Good to Me. And then he went on to become Flatboy Slim. 4 studio albums, including the quadruple platinum selling You've Come a Long Way Baby with the #1 single Praise You, which again is a double platinum selling single. Heaton, Hemingway and roadie Sean Welsh formed The Beautiful South, which again I think is something that stayed within our shores or perhaps Europe. I don't think it went across the pond. They went on to sell 15 million records, 10 studio albums, 2 of which were #1 albums, 8 albums in the top 6. There are 34 singles, of which 2 were #1 and 19 top 30 singles. So really interesting. The first couple of albums was them, and then after that they had 2 different female singers come in as almost semi-permanent residents for the rest of the albums, and some great interesting lyrics as well. He is quite biting, Mr. Heaton, in relationships as well as just politics. The great song, what's it called? Song for Whoever? I can't remember. I love you from the bottom of my pencil case. I mean, it's a great opening line. Cullymore, the guitarist, he went on to become a children's author. And in 2009, co-wrote songs for and appeared in a preschool music series called The Bops. So there you go. That's the Housemartins. Just really interesting. I think the nice thing about it is at the time that you've got that sort of jangle indie sound to their guitar. And you don't probably hear it so much on this track, a little bit. but you've also got influences of particularly 60s soul and rhythm and blues. And there's quite a bit of soul in Heaton's voice, actually, for a
Yeah.
skinny white lad from Hull. It's
Yeah,
not
it
at all.
definitely blossomed as it went on, and I started to notice that his
Yeah.
voice had far more character than he had let on as he introduced the lyrics in the first
Yeah.
verse. So
I mean, it's deliberate, they're ramping up, from the
Yeah.
delivery of the first. It's his choice, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing his criticism in a gentle voice at first.
yeah,
And then it's,
escalates.
he kicks in with it's a waste of time. He really
Yeah.
lets rip at that point.
Like the
yeah.
more you think about it, the
So,
more
yeah.
pissed off you get. So he's like illustrating that
He's
emotional
winding
roller
himself
coaster.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah, so they're an interesting band. For the main part, they're quite poppy, but just a slight twist on the sort of mainstream poppy. So yeah, I thought this would be an interesting one to listen to, and especially the way they've done this with the that beautiful trumpet as well. So won't be the last trumpet you hear. There's another one coming up with another trumpet solo from different act. But yeah, I thought it was always welcome in this channel. Great. I shall wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this, Andy.
Thank you.
Folks out there, tell us what you think. Any fans of the Housemartins? I know that Mr. Heaton can be a bit Marmite. Some people like him more than others. I know a couple of my friends actually met him. One of their friends was working as a roadie, and they got into a bit of an argument with him because he was a bolshy little bastard, according to them. But anyway, that's all hearsay, or third-hand stories that I got. They didn't their rider though; they drank all their beer. So when they came off stage after the gig, there was no booze for them. Probably influenced his rage. Anyway, so tell us what you think. Sorry, get into this. Yeah, tell us what you think. Please hit the like button if you like this. Drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you. All that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Sign up and you'll get your very own Blue Peter badge. Probably. That being said, thanks so much for watching. And we'll see all of you on the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.